Welcome to IPOB Rapture Media, April 25th, 2024. What if the arms you sell are being used not to combat terrorism, but to fuel it? How would you feel? This is the question that hovers in the minds of the indigenous people of Biafra or IPOB as we raise concerns over the arms sales to the Nigerian government. We express that these weapons intended to safeguard a nation are instead being used to perpetuate violence and unrest. The IPOB, led by the indomitable Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, cleareth that the Nigerian government is not utilizing these arms to combat terrorism, as they claim. Instead, we certify that these weapons have been deployed against peaceful communities, causing untold harm and displacement. These are facts that present a chilling picture of a government that has weaponized its military resources against its own people, rather than the terrorists they profess to fight. This situation raises a fundamental question about the ethics of arms sales and the responsibility of nations supplying these arms. The gravity of this matter cannot be underestimated. Lives hang in the balance. To understand this issue, we must first travel back in time. Let's rewind to the year 2021 when the Turcano jets first arrived in Nigeria. These jets, equipped with cutting-edge technology and lethal firepower, were heralded as Nigeria's formidable weapon in the fight against terrorism. However, the reality that unfolded was starkly different. The Nigeria government, instead of using these jets to combat terrorist groups in northern Nigeria, turned these weapons against its own people. The targets were not the terrorists who operated in the open, but innocent peaceful communities and internally displaced people's camps, which were supposed to be safe havens for those fleeing violence and terror. In the eastern region, the jets were deployed not to secure, but to terrorize. The peaceful Ipob villages in the Olu local government area of Imo State bore the brunt of these attacks. For 2 long years, from 2021 to late 2023, these jets were never used against the terrorists they were meant to fight. Instead, they were consistently used in bombing innocent people in Imo State, in the eastern part of the country, in Biafra land. The ID camps in the north, full of victims of Boko Haram terrorist attacks, were not spared either. These camps, already struggling with the aftermath of violence, were further devastated by the intentional bombings by the Nigeria military. The displaced persons who were already victims once were victimized again, this time by the very forces that were supposed to protect them. This is the twisted chronology of events that unfolded after the arrival of the Turcano jets. These jets, once symbols of hope and security against terrorism, have instead become harbingers of destruction, raining down terror on innocent lives. The jets, once a symbol of hope against terrorism, have become harbingers of destruction for innocent lives. The narrative presented by the Nigeria government is a far cry from reality. This phrase, as distressing as it may sound, carries a weight that is impossible to ignore. Let's delve into this web of deception. The Nigerian government stands accused of creating the very terrorist groups it claims to combat. This isn't a mere allegation, but a horrifying reality that questions the integrity of those in power. Instead of protecting the citizens they've sworn to serve, they've orchestrated a terrifying dance of chaos and violence. The purpose, it's all a smokescreen, a diversion to distract the world while they plunder the nation's wealth. Unthinkable, isn't it? But the evidence is there, hidden beneath the ashes of burned villages and the cries of displaced people. And then we have the fighter jets, jets that were supposedly purchased to fight terrorism, jets that were meant to bring peace and security back to a nation crippled by fear. But where are these jets really going? Are they soaring through the skies of northern Nigeria, hunting down those who spread terror and destruction? Unfortunately, the answer is a resounding no. Instead, these jets have been turned against the very people they were meant to protect. Innocent, peaceful communities have been targeted, their homes reduced to rubble, and their lives forever changed. And the deception doesn't stop there. Internally displaced people's camps, heavens for those who've lost everything, have been intentionally bombed. Why? To prevent these displaced persons from returning to their communities that have been handed over to the very terrorists they were supposed to be fighting against. The Turcano jets, which arrived in Nigeria in 2021, were never used against the terrorists. Instead, they were consistently used to bomb innocent people in the eastern region of the country, Biafra land, and IDP camps in the north, victims of Boko Haram terrorist attacks. The reality is far more sinister than we were led to believe. This is not just a case of corruption or mismanagement. This is a deliberate, calculated move to exploit a nation's fear for personal gain. The question is, how much longer will the world stand by and watch? The brunt of this deception is borne by the indigenous peoples of Nigeria. In particular, the people of Biafra and other indigenous communities are experiencing the harsh realities of this situation. The indigenous people have found themselves trapped in a conflict they did not ask for and are suffering greatly as a result. The Biafra villages, once vibrant and full of life, have been transformed into war zones. The once peaceful skies now echo with the terrifying roar of fighter jets, and the ground shakes with the impact of their deadly payloads. The homes and livelihoods of the innocent people of these villages are being destroyed, their lives torn apart by the violence inflicted upon them. The bombing campaigns have also led to mass displacement of people. Communities have been forced to abandon their ancestral lands, their homes reduced to rubble. The internally displaced people's camps, which should have been a safe haven for these displaced individuals, have also been targeted. The eastern region, also known as Biafra land, has become a primary target for these bombings. The region, rich in culture and history, is now a landscape of destruction and despair. The bombings have not only caused physical damage, but have also left deep psychological scars on the people. These actions are not just a violation of human rights, they are a threat to the very existence of these communities. The indigenous peoples, who have a deep and profound connection to our lands, are being robbed of our homes, our culture, and our history. The impact of this situation extends beyond the physical destruction. It's an assault on their identity, their heritage, and their very existence. The time for action is now. The indigenous people of Biafra, led by the indomitable Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, have a clear and resounding call. We urge the international community, including the Italian government, to halt any plans to sell Air Force jets to the Nigerian government. Instead, we recommend placing an arms embargo on the Nigerian government, a government that has shown a clear pattern of human rights violations and disregard for the sanctity of life. The IPOB's call is not a call for interference, but for informed decision-making. It's a call to prioritize human lives over business transactions. It's a call to uphold the principles of justice, respect, and dignity that form the bedrock of any thriving society. This is not just a call for the IPOB, but a call for all who value human rights and justice. Stand with the Ipob. Stand against the misuse of arms. Stand for human rights. Thanks for listening to IPOB Rapture Media. Please support the ESN at www.ipob.org.